Freedom YouTube live stream. What is going on, guys? Hope everybody is doing well. This is number 21 for these YouTube live streams. It's crazy to think that we've been now almost doing these for 21 weeks. Just insane to think about. And over this 21 weeks, unfortunately, I feel like each one of these has been getting progressively more negative as the year of 2020 comes to a close shortly, and this one's going to be a bit more negative, but still professional. If you want to see more of the true, raw, unbiased political thoughts just right out in the open for you, that's going to be over on the Instagram account. I try to keep it a bit more professional here on YouTube, but with that being said, I still think we err on the side of ranting every now and again, but that's okay. Guys, I'm experimenting with something new today, and that's going to be actually kind of a double feature. So I did just post a video, a standard review video, earlier today at around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That video was a review of the Streamlight TLR9. That is a really cool pistol light that I'm super impressed with, quite frankly. But I wanted to see if you guys kind of like that double feature aspect with the video right in front of the live stream. I'm also going to see how the analytics do on that video. So be sure to give that a watch if you haven't already. As always, any support really helps out as far as watching my videos, sharing them around with folks, liking them, interacting and commenting down below. All of that stuff really helps out. It helps defeat the YouTube craziness that is just gonna, quite frankly, continue pretty hard, I would imagine, moving forward. If you want to support Firearm Freedom through other methods, you can also check out the Firearm Freedom merchandise store, where you can get some awesome merchandise t-shirts for men, women, hoodies, stickers, bunch of stuff there that you guys are not going to want to miss out on. And then also we have the Subscribe account. Subscribe is more along the way of basically just being able to donate even as low as $1 a month to help support the channel. There's not a lot of extra content on there. It's just simply a platform if you guys aren't really feeling the merchandise. You can check it out over there. And of course, we also have links whenever these live streams finish to the Firearm Freedom Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also Discord server. So all of those links are down below after the live stream is over. If you don't want to wait for the live stream to be over, you can actually check out the links on the previous videos on the channel. The links are going to be on each one of those, so you'll be able to check them out. Head over there and we will start digging into it here. Sam, hello and welcome to you. Whisper Tactical, my channel subs are over 600 now. Thanks for the tips and advice. Hey, that is awesome to hear, my friend. That is awesome to hear. Scott, so does this mean I'm not getting my parts? Probably not. So what are we talking about in today's live stream, number 21? We are mainly talking about the Polymer 80, P80 factory getting raided, the little bit of information that we have on that, the expanding situation that we have on that, what I personally think is going to happen from this moving forward. I'm going to try not to state anything that I have not seen and have not now kind of declared as fact, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to try not to speculate on much, but I do want to give you my opinion. I think it's never a good idea to immediately make videos on this stuff like the moment that it happens. You know, the headline breaks and then all of a sudden people are running to make videos and titling videos just off that one headline that they read, 10 minutes prior. I think it's always a good idea to wait at the very least 48 hours for this stuff to really kind of, simmer down a bit, and then also for more information to come out. Because quite frankly, as you see with a lot of other YouTubers out there, they tend to make, update videos after that video was out, only a couple days after, because more information comes out. And with this Polymer 80 thing, more information has come out, and unfortunately, it is even worse information than we once thought, and it kind of reinstates the original thought that I think everybody had. So we're going to dig into that a little bit more. As always, for the first 5 to 10 minutes, I'm letting a bunch of folks get in. But on top of that, as always, just like any other live stream that we do here on the Firearm Freedom YouTube channel, these are really more of an open Q&A basis. If I just wanted to do a straight up talking point video, with the nice lighting and everything like that, I would have just filmed one and then uploaded it to the channel for you guys to check out. But the reason why I do these things live is so that you guys can interact. You guys can ask me questions immediately. If I'm wrong on something, you can put it down there immediately. If you want to ask me a question about something else, you can put it down there and I'll get back to you immediately. So that's the benefit of doing these things live. And that's why I do them live, is just to be able to interact with you guys a little bit more than just, making a video and putting it out there just for the views and everything like that. Also, I think they raised P80 so they could get rated P80, so I think they could get everyone's info for gun confiscation in the future. Whisper, we're going to go into that a bit here in a second. Neil, what is up, man, from the UK? Good to see you again. Griff, with all the BS going on lately with the ATF, it's really making me want to embrace paying for everything gun related with either cash or cryptocurrency. Yeah, it's a valid point. That's a valid point. AKA, what is up, man? Good to see you. So yeah, let's dig into it a little bit. For those of you guys that have not seen anything about this, I believe it was around like Thursday morning, I want to say, that the P80 factory got raided by the ATF. Now, this was an interesting raid simply because no one was arrested in the process, and also no charges immediately were pressed against the owners or employees of Polymer 80 at first. Now, soon the warrant did come out, and we were able to see glimpse of the warrant and exactly what they were raiding the Polymer 80 factory for, and it is not good. And for those of you guys that don't know, what is a Polymer 80? What would be a Polymer 80? If you are new into the gun world, it might seem a little bit odd to figure out what a Polymer 80 is. So you have always, in this country, been able to manufacture your own firearms. That has always been legal, and it is okay to do on a federal level. So, for instance, if you were to go into Home Depot or something like that, you want to get parts to build a slam-fire shotgun, you could do that, provided the one catch that we still live under today from 1934 is that it has to fall under any and all NFA restrictions as well. So for instance, if you wanted to build a shotgun, that's just fine. You could build a shotgun provided the overall barrel length was 18 inches or above and the overall length met the proper requirements. The same goes for where you could not build a short-barreled rifle or a short-barreled shotgun or a machine gun without the proper paperwork or licensing to go behind it. Paperwork for a short-barreled shotgun and a short-barreled rifle, as far as licensing for a machine gun, because for those of you that do not know, as a standard civilian, you could not build a newly manufactured machine gun that was made after 1986. So if you wanted to go that route, you could do that with proper licensing, but you'd need a manufacturer, basically a license to manufacture NFA items, which is incredibly difficult to get and definitely not easy to go down that road. But either here nor there, you could manufacture your own firearm. So as times got on more recently, there were quite a few companies coming out that were simplifying the process just a little bit. Obviously, being able to go to Home Depot or whatever other, home improvement store that you have near you and find these parts, yeah, that's all great, but not a lot of us are machinists or have the ability to make something a little bit more usable that is not just a, hey, look, I made a gun, it's cool, I can fire one round and that's it. So companies wanted to make it a little bit easier for the common person that's not a machinist to be able to manufacture their own firearms if they would like. Now, obviously, under our current law, if you could not legally possess a firearm, so if you are a prohibited person, you could not manufacture a firearm. You would then be breaking the law because you cannot be in possession of a firearm, so all of that is null and void. You are illegally manufacturing a firearm. On top of that, you can also not manufacture and sell firearms without the proper FFL or Federal Firearms License. So in other words, if you ordered this piece online and you wanted to manufacture this pistol and you said, hey, I can manufacture it real good, I'm going to manufacture like 5 or 10 of them just because I know a couple of my buddies can't really do it, so I'm going to manufacture them and then sell them to those guys. You cannot do that either legally without getting your proper FFL and actually going through the manufacturing process to do that. So fast forward to Polymer 80, right? P80. This is a company that designed essentially a Glock frame that was completed up to 80% of the gun. So in other words, everything, 80% of the gun, whatever qualifies as 80% was already done for you, and there was only 20% that needed to be continually milled out and made to get a functioning firearm. Now, although this is relatively simple to do, it still requires some machine work knowledge and knowledge to, run a drill and, run a drill press or filing and everything like that, that you still need a little bit of skill to do. And these are not considered firearms. I want to repeat that multiple times. The ATF themselves has stated that these things are not firearms, simply because of their own definition for what actually meets a firearm. And these do not. Up until more recently, as far as a couple days ago, none of these things met their definition of a firearm. How could they? Essentially, these things are the exact same as if you took a block of aluminum, and you milled it into the shape of a frame of a handgun, but it couldn't accept a barrel, it couldn't accept any parts, it couldn't do anything, it couldn't fire without further manufacturing. Obviously, that's not a firearm. It kind of looks like a firearm, but it's not. It is, and that definition is very important because without that definition of what meets a firearm, essentially, you could take a block of aluminum and say, well, since that's the same aluminum that is used in the manufacturing of an AR-15 lower receiver generally, that is now a firearm. And obviously you can see here where we start getting down that road very quickly with arbitrary statements made by the ATF, which we've been seeing more recently. So up until now, there's been absolutely no issues with P80 and with any of the kits that they produce for the public. So they sell slide kits. On their website, they sell everything else. They ship to distribution. I have sold these kits at previous gun shops that I work at. So in other words, they're again sold on distribution to other gun shops that are out there. And these have been around for years. There's been videos on YouTube on how to do them, how to produce them, and we have never, ever, ever before seen an issue with the ATF. Furthermore, I would really like to dig in, and I'm not going to speculate here because I don't personally have the numbers to go off of, but I would really like to dig in and see how many crimes in the entire country in the past existence of the company, Polymer 80 or P80, have actually been committed with P80 Glock or SIG or other lower receivers that were manufactured into firearms. Because I got news for you guys. The common criminal out there that is looking to do harm to another human being or rob somebody or home invasion, whatever, are probably going to have a far easier time just simply picking a gun up off the street for a much lower cost than buying these firearms that are not manufactured, having to manufacture them themselves, which, mind you, I'm sure half of the drug addicts out there that are robbing people don't have the proper tooling and equipment to finish milling out these firearms to then use them in a crime effectively, because chances are after they are done milling them, they are not getting reliable firearms out of the equation. So I would love to see those actual statistics of everybody talking about quote-unquote ghost guns and how rampant they are in the country for crime and everything else like that. I just don't buy it. I don't think that that is even remotely accurate with how easy it would be to just get a reliable factory-made firearm on the black market out there good to go. So, you know, you be the judge there. But Thursday morning, getting more into the more recent story that happened, the P80 factory was raided by the ATF with no warning at all. More troubling, the only thing, to my understanding, that they actually got from the P80 factory was records of the sales from P80. So in other words, anybody that purchased the buy, build, shoot kit from P80's website, which effectively included all the drill bits, the jig, the slide, everything to complete the process, but the process was still not completed. And that is a very important legal defining point, is that the process was not completed. So they said that this specific kit actually met the definition of a firearm. So here we go again with the arbitrary definition that now all of a sudden something that was perfectly legal and just fine for years before is now all of a sudden illegal because it meets the definition of a firearm. Now, as you guys know, you can obviously legally buy a you can legally build your own firearm, but what they are charging P80 with as of now is quote-unquote tax violations, because what they mean by tax violations and not paying taxes is saying that they should have had a federal firearms license because they were actually manufacturing firearms, and that tax violation is not paying the $500 or $100 or $1,000 FFL cost at the end of the year for their FFL. So they are insinuating that they were manufacturing firearms and then distributing them to the public. Furthermore, with that being said, the reason why they got those buying records is because they are now going door to door of these individuals saying, hey, you bought an illegally manufactured firearm without a serial number, and that is actually not legal to own, so you're going to have to forfeit that over immediately. Are they going door to door yet? Yes, they actually are, allegedly. So we have just found out, I believe today or later last night, that an individual actually contacted TFB that had purchased one of the buy, build, shoot kits off P80's website, and he did just get contacted by ATF detectives that came to his house, understanding that he was in possession of one of the buy, build, shoot kits, and he needed to turn it over. If he did not turn it over that day, then they would come back the following day with a warrant to raid and search his entire house for the item. So that is relatively anecdotal because obviously that is a private email given to TFB TV to report on. Now, with that being said, the individual also showed the documentation that the ATF detectives provided for him to forfeit over the P80 build that he actually purchased. So I want to read through, now that we got like a little bit of that story out of the way. I wanted to just kind of read through some of your comments. Scott, I tried to buy a shotgun today, but because I have a middle initial not spelled out, I couldn't purchase. That does not make sense. That's going to be an issue with the shop. That's an easy correction because you could just correct your middle initial, and then you could also, if it was a middle initial only, you could put I period O period on the form signifying initial only. Why the shop wouldn't run your check because of that, I don't know. Some shops are weird where with electronic paperwork, they say if you make one mistake, you're going to have to come back the following day to fix it. And it doesn't make any sense to me, but that's how the shop runs their stuff. How does the ATF define a suppressor? So they define it as a, quote, silencer, and that is how they legally define it. And it comes down to if it reduces decibels of the initial report of the firearm, that then it would constitute as a silencer or suppressor. That is not the exact definition. If you wanted to get the exact definition, you're going to have to look online because I just can't remember it off the top of my head. But in a nutshell, that's what it is. Wow, major interference with my connection. BATF must be monitoring and shadow banning or throttling. Doc, that could be the case, man. YouTube is being ridiculous more recently. Let me know if anybody else has issues with connection and stuff like that from the live stream. Let me know, and I'll try to fix it on my end. Also, you need to legally be able to own a firearm in order to build your own. AKA, absolutely, you are correct. They're just pushing the lines, so is it 80%? If not, then change it. Don't make up new rules because you don't like it. Yeah, absolutely. Scott, yeah, I mean, so here's the deal. They can still be bought in New York. Guys, you can still buy. There are companies right now, online distributors and stuff like that are blowing out P80 kits on sale right now. So there are still that. Here's the thing, and this is the more frustrating thing with the ATF's decisions more recently, among everything else that they've done more recently, is the fact that none of this is really the final, right? Like none of this is a definite answer moving forward. Okay, so you now told this company that they're manufacturing and selling illegal firearms, and that these items now constitute as firearms. So there is no definitive action moving forward, though. They're not effectively saying that all 80% receivers are firearms. They're saying that this buy, build, shoot kit is a firearm. Some arbitrary reason, somehow, somewhere makes it a firearm. So the frustrating thing is that, there is no line being drawn. They are able to do effectively whatever it is that they want to do. So if you don't think in the future that they're going to come after quote unquote rate increasing devices, then you're sorely mistaken, because again, they are proving as we speak that they are able to do this in any way that they see fit. They are able to move forward and arbitrarily deem one thing something that it was once not, just by the swipe of a pen. And that is effectively what they're doing here. Block of steel, plastic, yes. Block of steel, 80% completed, yes. Block of steel, 80% completed with remaining parts, slides, kit, not okay. Pushing the line. Yeah, well, so they, again, they are really going full bore here with just being a complete and total rogue agency as it sits. So, technically, it's not 80% complete. It is more like 90% now. If you give the other parts as well, the remaining 10% is the drill. Well, no. So it still is 80%, and the reason why is because they do not constitute the origin or the remaining percentage of the firearm as the slide, the barrel, and everything like that. The 80% just constitutes to how much the actual receiver of the firearm is complete. So in other words, with that Glock Polymer 80 80% kit, it doesn't matter how many parts come along with it. What actually legally comes down to the 80% completed firearm is the lower in and of itself. So if they were to drill out more holes, then it would be 85% or 90% or whatever else. But the slide coming along with it still does not change the characteristic that the frame itself is still 80% finished and is still legally an 80% block, basically, because it's not a firearm and it does not constitute as a firearm. And just because they are selling, drill bits or a jig or whatever else, again, technically speaking, does not make this a firearm. Now, again, if they were to mill out completely these frames or receivers to effectively accept all the parts already, then yes, technically, legally speaking, that 80% would no longer be an 80%, it would be a firearm. But just because they throw in a barrel, a spring, a slide, and a jig does not change the fact that that receiver is still not a completed receiver. It is still an 80% receiver. So That's the big defining characteristic with this one. Um, technically, you can put a 16-inch barrel and a stock to manufacture a carbine. You could, yes, you could manufacture a carbine. You could still, provided it's legal in your state, you could still manufacture a short-barreled rifle, a short-barreled shotgun with the proper $200 tax stamp and waiting on approval for the ATF. So you can manufacture any of these things that you would like, provided, again, you are following federal law and you are also following your own state law. So why is this happening now, given past documentation indicating 80%ers are not firearms? Beats me, but quite frankly, again, this is showing that they are moving forward. And look, so now we just had the Texas lawsuit thrown out of the Supreme Court, right? So at this point, with that lawsuit thrown out of the Supreme Court, you know, it is really, again, more looking like Biden is going to get sworn in coming up here next month. We will see. I don't know if anything will change, but that was kind of like the biggest, the biggest shining star left there that was not going to happen, or that something else was going to take place, or that voter fraud was going to get called out, or whatever else. But moving forward, if Biden gets in, do I think something will happen legislatively? And this is moving more towards what I think this is a light of in our future, what is going to be happening in regards to firearms. Do I think he's going to do something legislatively? In other words, another legislative assault weapons ban immediately. Could he do it? Yes. Is it going to be far more difficult, depending on who's in the Senate and the House, to push through a federal assault weapons ban or a buyback or something like that? Yes, it's going to be a lot harder to do that, simply because I think you're going to see more of an Obama 2.0, where each and every piece of that legislation gets stalemated because now all of a sudden a lot of the Republican candidates that were asleep on previous gun control, because there's another form of gun control and now there's a different political party in office, they all get up again and claim to be Second Amendment supporters when in previous years they were not. And that's kind of how the swing of everything goes in politics, right? That's just like the political spectrum that we live under today. So more than likely, if legislative action was put forward, it would get stalemated left and right, stalemated left and right, stalemated left and right. And I think personally, that is what we would see happen, maybe for even the next 4 to 8 years, who knows. But what he can do incredibly fast and incredibly fast acting with the ATF is push forward little bits and pieces of current, little legislation moving forward with the ATF. So I think literally within a few weeks of him getting sworn in, we're going to see fast and decisive action from the ATF, exactly like what they're doing right now on pistol braces, on quote-unquote ghost guns, on rate-increasing devices, on pretty much all semi-automatics, if they really want to go down that road. We are now looking at a completely and totally unchecked federal agency that is able to do anything that they see fit. And we're going to see very quickly here, very, very quickly, and this is another point that I wanted to bring up when it comes to, a lot of the stuff that I see online and everything like that. We're going to see very quickly how the whole I lost it in a boating accident, or I sold it to a friend, or I just don't have it anymore, good luck finding it, is not going to be enough to work for you moving forward. We are going to see that. We don't even have to wait for the election to see that, because that's going to quickly happen with these buy, build, shoot kits from the P80 factory. They are currently compiling all the information that they need to go door to door for these items, and we are, as we speak right now here on live on YouTube, they are going door to door for these P80 kits. So we're going to see real quickly here how when they know that you have this item, they are not just simply going to be like, oh, okay, you lost it in a sinkhole in your backyard, or you lost it in a boating accident. no problem. We'll just leave and never come back again. They're going to give these folks, a chance to hand it up, and then the second time that they come out, they're going to be having a warrant to raid, search the whole property. And guys, I got news for you. They have technology out there where they are able to see these things, behind walls, underground, whatever else with a quick search. So my point in saying all this is it's not enough to just simply say like, I'll just tell them I lost it and then I'm safe. I'm good to go. I can live the rest of my life with my item and I'll never have to worry about it again because I posted a funny meme about how I lost it in a boating accident. Again, that is not going to be enough to protect yourself against, federal agents raiding your house. So, we will see. In regards to, a lot of people ask me like, oh, how do I buy a P80 without them knowing? I think we're seeing firsthand here all of these individuals, right? That wanted to buy a P80 because they were like, I want to do everything under the radar. Ironically, these are the first individuals that are now getting hit on a door-to-door confiscation of this specific firearm that they bought, or I should say firearm that they built, from the 80% kit that they bought. So with that being said, again, hold on, guys. I want to read up on some comments here so I don't get too far down the line. So what is the best course of action to take individually and collectively? So I think the best course of action should be getting together with your friends and family and locals in your town and figuring out a way to help the problem, right? I think personally that is it. The moment that you are able, the moment that you are cast into an individual light to hope for the best, and donate to agency or donate to organizations and everything like that, I think it's a lot harder to come up with a solution on your own. I think it's a lot easier to come up with a solution when you have others, family members, friends, everybody with you to help you in that situation. So I think we're seeing it right now with business owners, with all of the lockdowns and shutdowns and everything like that in New York and New Jersey, with gyms being shut down, and even in Pennsylvania where there are networks forming so that instead of just having one individual, one business owner trying to figure out a solution to this problem, now there are hundreds, thousands of business owners in one network able to figure out how to help each other, basically. So I think ultimately that is going to be the immediate thing that might help the situation. Watch Biden push the Hearing Protection Act. Yeah, I highly doubt that would happen. So yeah, I think it's going to get very interesting, guys. I think we're going to see here moving forward. I don't know, but I can tell you that right now, it's not looking good. It is not looking good. Sean, they cannot take away your property without compensation. Supreme Court will have a field day. Yeah, the problem is that is how it should be, right? That is how it should be. But continuously now we have learned that, unfortunately, these political things that are supposed to be helping us are not helping us, that they are taking our private property without any form of compensation, that they are arresting people without any due process or anything like that, that they are breaking the Constitution, constantly left and right, and nothing is happening. And that, I think, is very troubling moving forward. I think we've learned, quite frankly, no matter what side of the aisle that you're on, Democrat or Republican or another, political affiliation, that obviously this more recent, presidential voting that we had going on in our country was not accurate in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you have people literally in court in a lot of these court hearings trying to see the validity of votes in their areas, laughing when they're presented with this evidence that is just so ridiculously fraudulent that it's not even believable. I think people are slowly starting to realize that any sort of political action that is told for you to take, write your representative, pay money to these organizations and vote is effectively not even not doing anything, but is actually not. It's basically just pushed into the ground and stepped on because it's not even being official. It's not even respected in any way, shape, or form. When you have a situation where there's hundreds of thousands of votes for. It doesn't even matter. Take political parties out of the equation, but when you have hundreds of thousands of votes that are not being counted accurately, how is anybody ever supposed to put any validity into voting ever again? Why would anybody vote ever again when then they see 20,000 dead people voting the time of the election? Again, no matter what political party you're on, that does not look good, and that does not give you a good feeling in your mind that, okay, this is going to be great in the future, and I'll just make sure I vote again, and that'll probably help me in the future, and that'll probably help me moving forward. Especially with the Supreme Court case in Texas being shut down immediately without even being heard. I think that gives you a good idea of what's going to happen moving forward. We'll see. Brandon, I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying, the fact that the Texas Supreme Court case with, 20-something other states didn't even get heard by the Supreme Court. I think the chances of our, justice system actually moving forward on just saying what was right and what was not right is relatively low. I hope it's different, and I hope they call out all fraudulent activity. It's just very interesting once they shut down the Texas case. That was a pretty big deal. Can't a state itself actually not comply with this if they disagree? Surely they have some power over the laws. Neil, you would think that, and technically speaking, yes, that would be the case because obviously, your state law in many cases is gonna trump federal law because the state can still decide on whether or not to comply with these federal federal restrictions. So there are some states out there that actually choose to not comply with federal firearms restrictions, specifically in regards to the NFA. There were actually one state in particular that was making suppressors. So in other words, if the suppressor was made in this particular state, it did not have to comply with NFA restrictions. You could own it, you could buy it, you could build it. It doesn't matter because that individual state was not going to comply with these federal laws. However, under the guise of federal eyes, that was still illegal. And coincidentally, they raided each and every one of those places. Federal agents raided each and every one of those places in that state, confiscated a bunch of firearms, or so they say, as firearms with suppressors, and also arrested a lot of people. And coincidentally, they don't do really anything like that in regards to other things that are illegal federally, but legal on most the state level, in regards to a lot of, legalized weed in a lot of these states and everything like that. So it gives you the idea. No, I'm not saying that weed should not be legalized, in these states. I'm just saying that it's ironic that the federal government does not come down nearly as hard on that, but on anything in regards to firearms, they're raiding shops day one and arresting a bunch of people and, taking them to prison for a very long time. So crazy, crazy, crazy times. Nate, what do you think the odds are that the ATF will come for the non-approved braces? So I don't think they're going to come for the braces themselves. I think it's going to be a far harder task to come for just the brace. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe they'll come for the brace. Maybe they will come assuming that the firearm that you have with the brace on it is currently an SBR, and they are now, having evidence that you have illegally manufactured an SBR and that they need to come and search your house for it. So, you know, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. According to CNN, they are accused of allowing felons to get their products. I wonder if the guy who had his gun taken was a felon. Be interesting to hear. That is not the sole reason. And first of all, that's a CNN spin on something that's not, or I should say, a mainstream spin on something, leaving out a bulk of the points behind it. Their main charges were for illegally manufacturing firearms and selling firearms without a federal firearms license. That is a big defining factor here. What mainstream media likes to put out is, oh, a bunch of felons are getting their hands on these items. The reality of it is, and I got news for everybody watching and all the mainstream media, if a felon wanted to get their hands on a firearm, they could easily illegally buy a firearm, steal a firearm, or build a firearm at any home improvement store. So it's not, and in fact, I don't even think on the ATF's warrant for P80 was anything in regards to felons getting these items. Nor do I think most felons, not most felons, but most people looking to commit crimes have the wherewithal to actually complete these guns successfully, and actually build these into firearms successfully. The big issue here and the big deciding factor with all this stuff is that they are claiming that P80 was illegally manufacturing these into firearms, and that is a very big deal because essentially what they're saying is that these 80%, which were always considered just a block, just something that looks like a firearm but is not a paperweight, if you will, actually is a firearm. And that is, again, the big defining characteristic. Now, of course, mainstream media is going to throw the line on the whole ghost gun thing, saying, hey, all of these crazed criminals are just running around. They're able to buy these guns with no background check, and they're committing so many crimes. And I revert back to what I originally said in the beginning of this live stream, which is I would really love to see the actual numbers on how many firearms-related crimes are committed off of somebody actually manufacturing an 80% receiver into a firearm. I would love to see how many crimes, once again, are committed in doing that. I would imagine the number is incredibly low compared to somebody just stealing a firearm or just buying a firearm illegally. That buying a firearm illegally, stealing a firearm, going to Home Depot and building your own firearm seems like a far easier task for most of these criminals looking to do harm to somebody than actually building a sometimes $600, $700+ 80% kit. And then getting it, manufacturing it, making sure that it works reliably, if they want to do that, or just trying to make it work at all. I think that is a far harder process to go through than just, stealing it or buying, a high point on the street or something like that. That's a far more affordable firearm. So take that for what you will. Sean, in my opinion, sheriffs are the most powerful political person in your country. I would disagree, and the reason why I would disagree is it really depends on state. Here in the state of Pennsylvania, sheriffs really are kind of, they don't have that much power, really. Their main job in Pennsylvania is pretty limited in regards to the other law enforcement agencies. So I would say that it really depends on the actual state itself in regards to how much power the sheriffs actually have or don't have. The affidavit said that they determined that the company was selling their products to people who were felons and listed the crimes where P80's guns were used. That may very well have been the case, man. I don't know. Even if that was the case, I would say the more troubling thing is the claims that they were manufacturing firearms. Because quite frankly, even a felon, right? Even a felon is technically not breaking any laws by being in possession of an 80% paperweight. They are not breaking any law. Even P80 for selling that, they're not selling a firearm. So even if somebody who's a prohibited person is in possession of an 80%, it is a paperweight. It is legally a paperweight. So unless that person builds it into a firearm, which if that person built it into a firearm, then that person built it into a firearm and they broke a law on their own. But still, it doesn't come back to P80. P80 doesn't know. They're not having any idea if the person putting in credit card information on their website is a felon or not a felon. It all comes down to what the person is doing with it. And even if, again, even if, say they named on the affidavit like 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people that committed a crime with this firearm, it would still pale in comparison to the 32, 33, 34,000 firearms crimes that are in the entire country per year. So, I don't know, man. We need to find it and read it. A lot of these questions can be answered. I won't disagree with you, man. I think the affidavit is going to have more information in regards to it. It would be also interesting to see if the person that they, went to and the person that emailed TFB, was actually a prohibited person or was not. I don't know. I have no idea. But the main thing that was stated, from my understanding, was that they were telling P80 that they were illegally manufacturing firearms, which would also, affidavit or no affidavit, make sense in regards to how they are moving forward with this. Okay, so you have an 80% company, right? A company that manufactures 80% paperweights. If felons are getting these 80% paperweights, would they arrest these felons? Yeah, I'm sure these felons are, as of right now, with the laws on the books, whether you agree with them or not, are technically speaking breaking the law by illegally manufacturing a firearm that they cannot be in possession of. So, that would make sense. But why contact the company if that was the only thing that they were concerned with felons getting these guns? The only reason why the company would become involved in that instance was if the ATF assumed that the company was illegally manufacturing these firearms and then selling them to these felons. So in other words, they did not have a proper FFL, and they're also selling these firearms, actual firearms, out to individuals without an FFL, and on top of that, the criminals getting all of these items is just icing on the cake for the ATF to raid the P80 factory. But all of that does not even begin unless the ATF is assuming that this company is illegally manufacturing firearms. Because if they're not illegally manufacturing firearms and they're just simply manufacturing 80% paperweights, it doesn't matter, what it is they're selling, what licensing they have. They don't need to have any other firearms licensing because they're not manufacturing firearms. So, that's the big problem here. That is the big problem. And mind you, all of these other 80% companies, 80%, milled AR receivers and everything like that, have criminals bought 80% AR receivers from other companies in the past? I'm sure they probably have. I'm sure they have. Why are all these other companies not rated yet? Will they be in the future? I don't know. The reason they weren't rated before is because they weren't manufacturing firearms. That's the big thing here, right? If a criminal bought piping online off Lowe's or Home Depot or any other, home improvement store, and they just so happen to take that piping and build it into a slam-fire shotgun at their house, is it Lowe's and Home Depot's fault for selling piping to a felon? It sounds stupid because the P80 looks a lot more like a firearm than piping, but that's legally the reality here, and that is the defining characteristic. What defines a firearm? We already have a definition for that, and none of these companies have broken that law, have broken that definition, and that's the big problem here. When there is no defining characteristic with what a firearm is or is not, that's a big problem, right? Because now we get into the ability for them to take anything and can say that you could potentially build this into a firearm. So there is no walls, there is no bounds. Everybody has an issue. Everybody could be potentially manufacturing said piece into a firearm or in not to a firearm. So, you know, I don't know. You be the judge. This stuff gets me fired up because it's just, it's frustrating, man. You know, we will see. Hold on. Let me read through everybody's stuff here. Next, toy guns are going to need an FFL. Right. I thought they were on my going after these P80 build kits, not all P80s. Yeah, so at the moment, the big issue is with the P80 buy, build, shoot kits. But if they're insinuating that that this kit constitutes as a firearm, how would the other P80 kits not constitute as a firearm? How would the other ones that don't come with the drill bits but come with a jig or come with a slide but none of the other stuff, how would those not constitute as a firearm if they're saying that this constitutes as a firearm? The problem is, one could say, well, you know, well, Joe, that one had, you know, that one had jigs in it, and that one had, that was obviously for you to build it. That's the problem, though. There is no defining characteristic by law. It's whatever the ATF that it's oh, that one's going to piss the ATF off, so that one's definitely probably breaking the law. That one might not piss the ATF off as much, so that one probably won't break the law. These are all probablys when nobody has any defining characteristics. It all comes back to the braces as well. Oh, that one's a little bit more bendy, so that one probably won't break the ATF. Well, that one has a Velcro strap, so that one might be good, it might not be good. Well, that pistol kind of has some sights on it that might be considered rifle sights, so that might piss the ATF off and might not be legal. But at the end of the day, we don't have any defining characteristics on what this stuff is or is not from the agency that is currently going door to door claiming that something is a firearm when before they said it was not a firearm, and yet we still do not have any defining characteristics on why they now think that that was a firearm. So that's the big problem here at the end of the day, and that's what we're going to continue to see moving forward. Moving forward, if any of you have not noticed already, all the way back when we hit the bump stock debacle, and we now considered a bump stock a machine gun, sure, one's out there could say, well, the bump stock's going to really frustrate the ATF because it really, you know, it allows you to fire faster. It kind of sounds like a machine gun, blah, 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 blah. Who really needs a bump stock? Okay, here we are. Because now, since they were arbitrarily able to deem those items machine guns, right? And arbitrarily overnight say that item that we once approved is actually not approved based on all of these arbitrary characteristics that we just now thought up for a political reason, that is now a machine gun. Thus, that is now illegal, and we're not going to go door to door, but we're going to tell you that you need to cut it up, and if you're caught in possession with that afterwards, you're being in the same as being caught in possession of a machine gun. Once that started, now we have arbitrary classifications going everywhere, all over the place, for pistol braces, for imported pistols, for P80s, for all of these other things. And I'm telling you, they are going to continue to develop all over the place. They're going to continue to pop up with all of these other companies, and we are soon going to find ourselves, right? Like a lot of people out there, oh, you know, there's so many millions of braces, so we're good, right? There's millions of braces. There's no way they could go door to door. Dude, they're trying to go in little increments, right? They're not looking at the whole pie. They're looking at one piece of a pie. And they're going to keep inching on closer and closer until finally there's not many people left. They're not going to do all 4 million at one time. They're doing tiny, tiny little bits. Tiny little bits, and they're slowly going to chip away. Death by paper cut, right? They're slowly going to chip away until finally, we're going to run into some big issues. So you be the judge. I don't know. We'll see. Sorry, guys. Reading through everything here. My wish is that we could go back to ordering guns out of Sears and Roebuck catalogs. Brandon, I'm right there with you, buddy. Surely it's not a firearm until it actually fires a projectile. Neil, you would assume that, but here in the U.S., that is not the case. Jordan, if the Dems attack the Supreme Court, there will be no limit on the infringement of our rights. Yeah, basically. Big D, are firearms required to have a serial number or any other identifiable number? If they're being manufactured to sell, yes, they need a serial number. If you are manufacturing them, my understanding of the law, because I'm not a legal advisor. This is just from me reading little tidbits here or there or getting information from others. If you are building the firearm, it does not need a serial number unless you are looking to get gunsmithing work done on it or you are looking to sell it. So basically, yeah. GatCat, once again, they only need to have serial numbers if they're being manufactured to sell. If you are manufacturing the item, it does not need to have a serial number until you are selling it or looking to get gunsmithing work on it, under my understanding. Sorry, guys, reading through everything. Yes, yeah, GatCat, perfect example. The P80 build kit is a chunk of plastic, nothing more. It's like when does a cucumber become a pickle? That's the issue. I would agree. The big issue here is legally speaking, right? What is a brace? What is a stock? What is an actual firearm? What is not? I would like to point out once again how arbitrary and stupid all of this stuff is, right? How all of it is stupid. How all of it doesn't make any sense. How does having a brace make this specific item any more dangerous or less dangerous than having another piece of plastic, which is a stock, right? How is it so ridiculous that this item is so dangerous, is so bad, that no one should be able to own it? But if you pay $200 and you register with it, if you register it with us, then it's totally safe to own and there's no issues at all, right? This company, P80, is totally breaking the law, even if they were manufacturing these firearms, right? Even if you were manufacturing firearms, they were manufacturing firearms, they're selling them to everybody, they're just sending them straight to their house. They would be totally good to go if they pay money to the government, get their licensing, and send the firearms to a gun shop instead. So they send the firearms to the gun shop, they're good to go, and then they're not breaking any laws, right? Then they're not breaking any laws once they pay the money. That's it. So that's how little this changes. Oh, and by the way, the background check paperwork that individual is filling out at the gun shop is unconstitutional in and of itself, and it has like a 97% false positive rating. Oh, and by the way, right now in most states, the average pending times are going up to 5 hours because they're taking so incredibly long for somebody to just get the firearm. It blows my mind, man. It blows my mind. Unbelievable. Sorry guys, reading through everything. So a completed P80 that is an operational firearm that does not have a serial number is illegal. Not arguing, just trying to wrap my head around the mess. No. So here's where it gets very interesting. No, you could manufacture a P80 into a firearm. You could have a functioning firearm without a serial number, and that is just fine. But what the ATF is insinuating is that this company who is selling you a P80 with a jig and drill bits is actually manufacturing that firearm before it gets to your door, and that's the big defining characteristic. You can build your own firearm, but a company building that firearm and giving it to you, that's totally illegal. You can buy something that looks a lot like a firearm, but it's not a firearm yet, And that is totally fine if you want to build it and make it yourself into a firearm without a serial number. That's totally fine until you go to sell it or, do something else that requires it logged into a logbook or whatever. But that's the defining characteristic, and that's what I mean is so stupid and arbitrary about this whole thing. Dominoes, you're absolutely right. Are bump stocks illegal still right now? To my knowledge, yes, they are still illegal right now. There may be like a stay out there. I haven't seen much progress on any sort of court cases with bump stocks. To my understanding, they are still illegal to own, but I don't know for sure. Scare tactics, yep. Yeah, so GatCat, great point. At the end of the day, are criminals going to care one way or another, regardless if they're going to commit a crime? It all comes back to this, right? Look at the war on drugs. At the end of the day, do you really think that this law is any more than just a royal pain in the ass to a law-abiding citizen, and then ultimately to criminals, it doesn't matter one way or another? And that's another thing that's really ridiculous. Is fully legal to own without a serial number? Yep. What do I want for Christmas? I don't know what I want for Christmas. I just want to not get stressed out every time I go on social media is what I want for Christmas. Soon they will come after people building flintlocks and black powder firearms. You are not wrong. You are not wrong. Whether it is 40 years from now, 20 years from now, 10, 5, a year from now, sooner rather than later, they will come after everything, just like it is in the UK, just like it is in Australia. They will. They will. Will it take longer here? Yes. Will there be way more of a black market of firearms here? Yes. But, with that being said, this is how they do it, guys. This is how they do it. They chip away little by little by little by little, and they make you have this false understanding that whatever you're doing politically, voting, writing your reps, and donating is actually making a difference, that you're actually doing something. When in reality, I got news for you, it's just not. In reality, we have lost miles and have not gained back anything in our recent history, at least in my lifetime. And I'm still young in the grand scheme of things at 25. So, with that being said, again, guys, be on the lookout moving forward. I'm going to do another live stream on this on my Instagram account tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so be on the lookout for that. I always get a little bit more crazy in those live streams. So if you want to see more raw and uncut information, that is going to be the place to go. But we're about 3 minutes over that hour mark. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you all understand where I'm coming from, can see the frustration, and can see why I have that frustration. There's a lot up in the air with this. We will see where we're going to go. But I think this is a prime example of where our future is looking like in regards to what we're going to see with a new wave of gun control, if you will, moving forward. I think we're going to see a shift from more legislative gun control into this rogue agency gun control that we are currently in right now. So, I don't know. We will see, guys. But I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday evening, wherever you are watching this in the world. Guys, thank you so much for your continuous support. I hope you've enjoyed more of the tabletop videos, dropping more frequently, coming in soon. Got a lot of really fun stuff coming to the channel here soon that I think many of you guys are hopefully going to like. If everything goes well, we should have a little bit of an ability to, how should I say, see in the dark coming early January. So I'll let you try to decipher what that is. Very excited. There's going to be some interesting reviews coming forward. So moving forward. So check out those links in the description after this live stream goes. And comment down below on how you liked it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more great videos to come soon.